Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll start our meditation, a little bit of silent meditation with the breath, and then we'll visualize the Buddha and do the recitations. As you'll notice from last week, I'm not leading you through the practice as much as before with as much detail, because I'm hoping, I'm knowing that you are doing this practice every day, and therefore you don't need me to lead you through it, right? Yes? So, so the more you get familiar with it, the more you can lead yourself through it, and the less you need me to do it. So that's why I'm not doing it. And if you're lost, then please do the practice every day and go back to the first couple of teachings where I explained how to do it. Also, if you go to thuptenchildren.org, there's the meditation on the Buddha, online there that you can download. Okay? And if you still don't get how to do it, then complain. I won't listen, but you can still complain. Okay. So let's start with the breath. Let the mind settle. So in this space in front of you, visualize the Buddha sitting on a throne and lotus, moon and sun discs, his body made of golden light. Remember to visualize all the other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas surrounding him, and yourself surrounded by all the sentient beings. So take a minute or two and describe the visualization to yourself, and visualize that, remembering that it's all made of light, and cultivate a relationship with the Buddha as you visualize him looking with kindness and acceptance upon you and all other beings. and then with a sense of the disadvantages of cyclic existence and a dread of experiencing them. And also a sense of confidence in the Buddha's ability to lead us beyond cyclic existence. And the third, with compassion for all living beings, wanting them to be free of cyclic existence as well. Then we take refuge and do the recitations, imagining that we're leading all the other sentient beings in doing these together with us. And so really think about what you're saying as you're saying it. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the Great Awakening. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, for land, sun, and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Then of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure. Inspire me and others to be free from the three poisonous attitudes. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Now a replica of the Buddha comes and sits on top of your head, facing the same way as you do, and assists you in making requests to the three jewels. Glorious and precious Guru, sit upon the lotus and just in my crown, guiding me with your great kindness. Bestow upon me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind, the eyes through whom the vast scriptures are seen, supreme doors for the fortunate who would cross over to spiritual freedom, illuminators whose wise means vibrate with compassion, To the entire line of spiritual mentors, I make request. Taya ta mani mani maha mani soha. 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 Taya ta muni muni maha muni soha. So while meditating with the Guru Buddha on your head, then reflect like this. The freedom and fortune that I have attained not only carry great potential, they are also extremely difficult to attain. The majority of sentient beings, human and otherwise, engage mostly in the 10 non-virtues and so forth, which are obstacles to attaining freedom and fortune. In particular, to attain an excellent rebirth, complete with freedom and fortune, you must have pure ethical discipline as a base, supplement it with generosity and so forth, and complete these with stainless prayers and so on. Since such causes are very rarely created, the probability of attaining a simple high rebirth as compared to a low rebirth as an animal and so on is barely conceivable. Compared to simple happy rebirths, lives complete with freedom and fortune are as infrequent as stars visible during the day. For that reason, I must not waste in meaningless activities the difficult to attain and once attained very meaningful life, complete with freedom and fortune, that I have found just this once. Instead, I must take full advantage of it. The way to take full advantage of it is to rely on my spiritual mentors, who are inseparable from the Buddha, and to apply the key instructions of the supreme vehicle that they teach. May I thereby in one life easily attain Buddhahood. Guru Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. In response to your requesting the Guru deity, the Guru Buddha, 5-colored light and nectar stream from all parts of his body into you through the crown of your head. It absorbs into your body and mind and those of all sentient beings, purifying all negativities and obscurations accumulated since beginningless time. And especially purifying all illnesses, spirit interferences, negativities and obscurations that interfere with attaining a superior realization of the difficulty of attaining freedom and fortune. Your body becomes translucent, the nature of light. All your good qualities, lifespan, merit, and so forth expand and increase. Think in particular that a superior realization of the difficulty of attaining freedom and fortune has arisen in your mind stream and in the mind stream of others. So last time we talked about precious human life and the different qualities of a precious human life. And remember that human life and precious human life are different. Okay, there's many human lives, but even regular human lives are very infrequent compared to the number of animals and insects and so on there are. But among human beings, having a precious human life with the ability to learn the Dharma and practice the Dharma is really rare. You know, because if you think about it, you know, how many people, there's over 7 billion human beings on the planet right now, and how many of them at this moment are engaged in some kind of Dharma practice. Yeah? I mean, think of your family members. Any of your family members practicing the Dharma? No? How about all your old friends that you grew up with? Yeah. You know, when we think about it, not so many people are practicing. So having that opportunity to practice is really quite rare. And yet, having a precious human life is very meaningful. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the meaning, you know, the meaning of the precious human life, and then the rarity of attaining it. Okay, so from when we talk about the usefulness of the precious human life, there's 3 ways we can make it useful. So one is from the viewpoint of our temporary goals, and 2 is from the viewpoint of our ultimate goals, and 3 is in every moment. Okay? So in terms of our temporary goals, you know, temporary goals means creating the cause for happiness within cyclic existence. So with a precious human life, we have the opportunity to abandon the 10 non-virtues and practice the 10 virtues. We have the ability to take and keep precepts, and all of this enables us to create the cause for an upper rebirth in the future, which is the most immediate thing we need to take care of. Yeah? Because before we can think of attaining liberation or full awakening, we have to be sure that we can at least not be born in the lower realms in the next life. Yeah? And so this temporary goal is, it's not our ultimate goal, but it's a very important one if we want to attain the ultimate goal. Okay? So, you know, we can make our life useful by creating the causes for a good rebirth in the future. So ethical conduct is the main cause for a human life or for a fortunate rebirth. So, you know, having that opportunity now, you know, to keep ethical conduct. So whatever level of precepts that we feel comfortable taking, to take that level and then keep the precepts well. Okay? And then also to practice generosity and, you know, some meditation and things like that, so that in a future life we have some familiarity with those things and can, you know, we feel somewhat close to those activities, and then therefore can continue them in future lives. Okay? And then in terms of our ultimate goal, we have the opportunity with the precious human life to attain either liberation or full awakening. And we're aiming for full awakening, yeah, because we want to be of the greatest benefit to all the sentient beings. So while it's difficult to attain full awakening in this life, it's definitely possible. Okay? Yeah, they say that a human body, with the elements in our human body, is a perfect basis for practicing the tantric path, which quickly eliminates the defilements. Yeah. However, before we can really do that, that's like the roof of the house. We have to build the foundation and the walls. But, we have the potential in this life, which is really something. And then moment by moment, we have the ability to make our life meaningful by practicing the Dharma and transforming all of our daily life activities into practice. Okay, so when you're out there pulling knapweed, you are, or spraying knapweed, you are destroying the afflictions in other people's minds, and in your own mind too. Okay, when we're cutting down, thinning the trees, because the forest is too crowded, it's like clearing away all the distracting thoughts in our concentration. When we go upstairs, we think we're leading sentient beings to the upper realms and to liberation and enlightenment. When we go downstairs, we think that we're happily going to the lower realms in order to be of great benefit to sentient beings. When we're washing the dishes or vacuuming the floor, again, we're cleansing the minds of ourselves and others of defilement. So moment by moment, in every activity we do, through transforming our motivation and through learning how to think in a correct way, we can transform daily life activities and, other things that we're doing into the path of awakening. So it's quite when you think about it, how to make our life meaningful, this is really pretty significant. Because think, when you grew up, okay, what did you grow up with as the meaning of your life? What did your parents and society tell you about the meaning and purpose and goals in your life? Yeah, get a good education, have a good job, get married, have 2.5 kids, or only 2 kids now, yeah, raise geniuses, buy a house, get a car, go on vacation 2 weeks out of the year, come back exhausted. Maybe in Germany 4 weeks. Here there's only 2 weeks. Yeah. Work overtime so that you can get more money, so that you can send your kids to good therapists because they feel unloved because their parents didn't spend enough time with them. Yeah? Is that kind of how you were taught as a child, what you could do, the value and of your life, the purpose of your life, what you could become, Stay as healthy as possible. Try and pretend that you're not going to get old. When death is approaching, deny it. Yeah? I mean, true or not true? Is this how you were brought up? Did anybody tell you that you could do something more meaningful with your life than just have as much pleasure as possible and gain money and status? Yeah, have a wild sex life. I mean, what were we really taught? These people, our family, cared for us, They love us, and they really want us to be happy. But, and they taught us to the best of their ability, but they really had no idea about how to make the life meaningful in the long term. No idea about karma, rebirth, anything like that. Yeah? True, not true? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also in there somewhere, somehow, be a good person.
Yeah. Yeah, be a good person, but always look out for yourself first. Be good, but not too good? Yeah, yeah, don't get caught. Yeah, look good, but don't necessarily be good. Or somebody said, look responsible, but don't be responsible. Yeah, and these are, you know, what the people who really loved us taught us, because this is what they knew. Yeah. And then when you think of, you know, encountering the Dharma and what the Buddha teaches us, it's so much vaster than that, so much more meaningful than any of that, you know? Because if we practice the life, you know, as our parents mostly dictated to us, then, you know, what happens? We accumulate a lot of non-virtue. Yeah, maybe a little bit of virtue, but then we might destroy it because we get angry. Yeah. And people taught us anger was bad, but mostly other people's anger is bad. We should be angry, and we should stick up for ourselves and defend ourselves and defeat the enemy. Yeah. So, yeah, this is... you know, the future, the optimum vision of a perfect life that society could give us, and that was it, without any idea of karma. You know? And then, of course, death approaches, and being terrified. Yeah, being terrified because we've spent the whole life creating this whole ego identity, with the family and with people and possessions and reputation, and death comes and the whole thing's gone. And instead, we're left with asking ourselves, well, what really was the meaning of my life? What did I do that was of value? I had a good time. Yeah, I have a lot of pictures of all the good times I have. But how does that really benefit me or anybody else at the end of the day? What does it do? Okay, so here we really see the kindness of the Buddha in giving us an alternative and telling us what, you know, the kind of potential and meaning that we can make of our lives. So to really think that and take it seriously. Okay, so because here you can see why every human life isn't a precious human life, because many people have human lives, but they don't know the Dharma, so they don't know about how to make their life meaningful and give it purpose like this. Okay? Then to have this opportunity that we have right now is actually very difficult to attain. Now, sometimes we take our life so much for granted. It's like, oh yeah, I have all these good conditions, but, you know, I can get it again. And we take it for granted. There's plenty of time, and you know, if I don't practice this life, it's this next life, I can practice then, right? You know, oh, Buddhism has many lives, so okay, I enjoy myself this life. Next life I'll practice. Okay, so we don't really appreciate how difficult it is, or was, to get the opportunity that we have right now, and instead we think that it will come easily again in the future, which is not the case at all. Okay, so in the motivation that we meditated on, you know, prior to the teaching, it talked about that. And so now I want to go into a little bit about why it is rare and difficult to attain this precious human life. so that we will appreciate having it, appreciate our opportunity to make it meaningful. Okay? So the rarity of the precious human life, we can talk about it in 3 ways: in terms of causes, creating the causes for it, in terms of analogies, and in terms of numbers. And, yeah? So in terms of the causes, yeah, to have a precious human life, so first of all, as I was just saying, just to have a human life, we need to keep good ethical conduct. Okay? Now, how many people, human beings on this planet, keep good ethical conduct? Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of people who don't lie, well, except unless it's convenient. Yeah. And they don't kill unless their house has an infestation or, you know, of something, or they're being threatened. And they don't steal unless there's the opportunity to take something from their company without anybody noticing. And they don't sleep around unless there's somebody they really want to sleep with and a good opportunity and they won't get caught. And they don't lie unless there's something that they don't want other people to know about. Are you getting my point? Yeah? And it's not just other people, it's also us. Yeah? So, you know, we like to think, oh, we keep very good ethical conduct, and most people keep good ethical conduct, but when we really look closely, you know, we keep good ethical conduct as long as we feel no urgency to keep bad ethical conduct. Yeah? Or as long as we can't get something out of breaking the precepts. But when the opportunity comes to get something more for ourselves and not get in trouble for it, or a low risk of getting in trouble for it, then we go for it, don't we? Yeah? So to really keep good ethical conduct is not a simple thing. And even if we respect ethical conduct, you know, how many times do we lie and it just kind of comes out, we don't realize it until later? Or harsh speech, divisive speech, idle talk, all the time. Yeah? Coveting, ill will, wrong views, yeah, all of that stuff. And so, you know, it's not easy to create the cause of having good ethical conduct. And ethical conduct isn't the only cause of a precious human life. That's just enabling us to have an upper rebirth, okay? To have a precious human life, then we also need to practice generosity so that we'll have the wherewithal to be able to practice well in future lives. We won't be impoverished. We need to practice fortitude, you know, and build up our mental strength so that we will be able to get along with others and we'll look appealing, and, you know, we'll be able to meet people and learn together with people. We need to develop some joyous effort that takes delight in virtue, some concentration, some wisdom. Okay? All these kinds of things are necessary to have a precious human life. And especially, you know, some of the qualities of the precious human life, we have to, from our side, have respect for the Dharma, have interest in the Dharma. And so how do we create the cause for that? It's not just going to pop up in our mind magically. Yeah? So to have interest in the Dharma, to have confidence in it, again, we have to learn, we have to study, we have to think about it, we practice it. Yeah? So there's a lot that we need to do even to get a precious human life. And then we also need to dedicate our merit so that we will attain a precious human life. Now, if we dedicate it for full awakening as a byproduct of that, then we can have a precious human life. But it's good to pray for one too, not, that doesn't mean leaving out dedicating for full awakening. We should definitely do that. But, really to dedicate the merit to have a precious human life and to meet completely, qualified Mahayana and Vajrayana teachers. Because if you're familiar a little bit with the Buddhist world, you see that there's a lot of people who have the name teachers who don't have the quality of teachers. And if you follow people like that, you wind up going down the wrong path. Yeah, which kind of messes you up for many, many lifetimes. Yeah, so to really dedicate to meet good spiritual mentors, and not just to meet them, but to recognize their qualities, yeah, and to establish a relationship with them. Many people meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama, but in the eyes of the Beijing government, he's a devil and the splitter of the motherland, and kind of the last person on earth you would ever follow as a spiritual mentor from the viewpoint of the communist government. Yeah, so, if we cultivate that kind of view or any other view like that, then we're separating ourselves from meeting these kinds of teachers. Yeah, and instead, we may wind up with Charlatananda as our guru. Yeah, and I have friends who have had Charlatananda as their guru, and, it's really dangerous. It's quite dangerous. Okay, so just creating the cause of a precious human life is rare, so thereby creating the effect, the precious human life, is going to be rare. Also by analogies, let me go back to dedication. Often when we dedicate, yeah, we might, sometimes, precious human life and enlightenment, and may I win the lottery, and may these people like me, and may I get this, and may this and that happen. And we dedicate for all sorts of worldly aims. Yeah? So if we dedicate our merit for worldly aims, maybe it'll ripen like that, and then it'll finish. Yeah? So we really have to dedicate for awakening so that the merit can last a long time and bring great results. Okay? But we're very attached to the happiness of this life. Yeah? And that's so often what we pray for and dedicate for. Okay, then by analogy, we can see a precious human life is difficult. Here the example that's often given is of a turtle, the blind turtle. And this example is in the Pali Suttas. Yeah? I was so surprised I was reading. Oh, look, same example. Okay, of the blind turtle who, pokes his head up once every 100 years, and there is a, golden ring floating around the vast ocean, and that, what's the chance of him getting his head through the ring? Very small. And so, when you really think about it, okay, the ring can be near Japan, and, he's near Chile, and so, of course, a long ways away. But then every once in a while, he gets so close and comes up and hits the edge of the tube, but his head doesn't go in. Yeah? And then 100 years later, widely separated again. Yeah, so they use that as an analogy of how difficult, how infrequent it is to have this life. And then, by numbers is the other way that we can see this. So the Buddha once took a pinch of sand from the Ganges. In ancient India, the Ganges, was seen as huge and vast, kind of like we see the Pacific Ocean nowadays. Yeah. And so the Buddha took a pinch of sand from the Ganges, and he said, the number of grains, in this pinch is equal to the number of sentient beings going from the lower realms to the upper realms. Yeah. Or who will be born again in the upper realms. And all the rest of the sand everywhere along the Ganges is the number of sentient beings being born in the lower realms. Okay? Does that give you some kind of feeling? Yeah, pretty rare, pretty difficult. Okay? If we even look here at the Abbey, or even in a city, in a place where there's more human beings in a square mile or a square kilometer, yeah, how many, compare the number of human beings to the number of insects. Okay? Well, we have 240 acres. I mean, counting the number of insects on that is just like, whoa. But even the number of insects just here in the garden and around the buildings, yeah, between yellow jackets and ants and gnats and, spiders and all sorts of other little guys. And then you throw in the birds and the moose and the, yeah, and we human beings are really outnumbered. And it's the same way in the city. You might think, oh, there's so many people in the city. Actually, how many insects and other animals are there in the city? Hmm? Okay, so again, difficult to, when you think in terms of numbers, and the number of beings born in each realm, difficult to have the opportunity that we have. Okay? And then also among human beings, very difficult to have a precious human life, because so many people were born before the Buddha, lived and taught, or they were born in a different place when the Buddha was alive, or now born in a place where, no access to the Dharma. Yeah. Or born in a place where there's access to the Dharma, but you'd much rather play video games. Yeah, so, really very, very difficult to have the kind of opportunity that we have. So when we should meditate on all these, do the analytic meditation on all these points, okay? Meaning that we sit down and we have the outline of the points, and so either what's listed here, or you have, you take notes while I'm teaching and you have the outline, or you refer to a Lamrim book, or in guided meditations on the stages of the path, there's the outline. And you sit down and you reflect on each point. And as you're reflecting on each point, you really make it very personal. Yeah? Like, how I'm sitting here, how many living beings are there just around me who don't have the opportunity to practice because they're in the lower realms? Hmm? Hmm? Yes, and also in us, living beings. Yeah, and then think about the, go through the 8 freedoms and 10 fortunes. Go through the 3 ways of making our life meaningful. Then think about these 3 ways of, why the precious human life is difficult to attain. Okay? So according to causes, according to analogy, and according to numbers. And, make these examples and contemplate it, so that you come out at the end of your meditation with this feeling of, wow, I am unbelievably fortunate. Unbelievably fortunate. You know, the opportunity I have is so meaningful. It's kind of miraculous that I even have this opportunity to make my life meaningful in this way. Yeah. Because especially if we look right now, are we creating the cause to have a precious human life in the future? Or are we goofing off most of the time? You know? And then you see, you know, am I really creating the cause to have this in the future? Maybe not. You know, and then that makes it even more miraculous that we have the opportunity this lifetime. And so to really appreciate it and to, you know, at the end of the meditation have a very strong sense of, I've really got to take the essence of this life because I may not have another opportunity to do it. And my life has great purpose and meaning. I have all the conditions. Yeah. If I just kind of lie around or waste my time, yeah, or, you know, piddle around just doing fun things, you know, because I have nothing better to do, what will I have to show at the end of my life? Yeah? What will I go out of this life with? Aside from a computer with all the pictures of all the far out places I've been and far out things I've done, which nobody is going to be interested in watching. Yeah? You think anybody is going to, you know, go through your 5,000 pictures that tell the story of your life? You know? Somebody's going to have to go through all this. All your souvenirs that you've saved. Yeah, all the letters that you've saved from this, that, or the other, you know, boxes of things. You think somebody's going to sit there and spend their precious human life reading the story of your precious human life that you spent, you know, in just seeking the happiness of this life? No, they're going to go in there and like toss, 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 shred. Every once in a while, shred something, mostly recycle, 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 burn, shred. Right? Yeah? So, you know, just to spend our life in that kind of way is really a tragedy. Yeah? It's funny what we think are tragedies in life. I remember before I ordained, I was going down in Dharamsala to the fabric store to get the material for my robes, you know. And there was an old Indian man working in there, so I was talking to him, telling him that I was going to ordain. And he said, "What a waste, you're so pretty. You should get married." Yeah. Because, you know, that's, yeah, how are you supposed to, you know, what use is a woman, you know, just, okay, you're good looking, get married, you know, but like, well, what a waste, you're going to be a nun. Yeah. Yeah, that's the way people looked at it, you know, and many family members, it's like, yeah, you could have had this great career and made a lot of money. What are you doing going off to live in Nepal? You're absolutely crazy. Yeah, so, you know, yeah. We have a precious opportunity, and we have to be aware of that and use it. And what we think is a precious opportunity, other people will think is wasting your life. And what we think is wasting your life, they think is a precious opportunity. Yeah? Wow, you have the opportunity to have kids and, you know, carry on the family lineage and do all of this. Huh? Well, maybe not. Yeah, plenty of human beings on this planet. Too many human beings on this planet already, actually. Reminds me once at a conference with His Holiness and Western Buddhist teachers, we were discussing birth control, you know, and His Holiness asked this one Theravada monk, you know, do you believe in birth control? You know, just kind of a societal thing. And he says, I practice rebirth control. Yeah? Okay. So then, as we continue along in the text, the way to conclude the meditation session is as before, dedicating the merit. And then again, in between meditation sessions, it's like as before. So to read the sutras, to, you know, read canonical and exegetic works that explain the topic of freedom and fortune and so forth. Okay, so study whatever you're meditating on. And then we come to the next outline, which is how to take full advantage of this precious human life. So here's where we get the division into the three levels of practitioner. Okay, so first is training the mind in the stages of the path shared with lesser beings or initial beings. I think it's nicer to say initial beings. Then training the mind on the stages of the path shared with intermediate beings, and training the mind on the stages of the path. It shouldn't be, why does they say shared with? It should be with the path of great beings. Yeah. The reason that the first two, okay, where it has shared with, is because the initial level, somebody can be an initial level being, yeah, and not have aspirations to be an intermediate or advanced level being. So when, you know, what we want to do is to have the mind of an advanced, the motivation of an advanced level being. But of course, to actually get there, we have to practice the paths in common with the initial level and the intermediate level beings. Okay? So it's said in common with because we don't have exactly the same in common with or shared with, because we don't have exactly the same motivation as the people on the initial level and on the intermediate level. Okay? So just to give you a little brief outline of this, okay? With each of these three levels of beings, first of all, one person can start out at one level, and the idea is to progress through all three levels. But like I said, some people just kind of stay at one level for a while, you know. Each of these levels has a motivation, you know, yeah, a motivation, and it has a series of meditations that you meditate on before in order to generate that motivation. And then it has a series of meditations you meditate on after generating that motivation in order to achieve the goal of that motivation. Okay? So for the initial level practitioner, there's two types. We'll go with the higher type, you know. The higher type wants, their goal is to attain a precious human life. What do they meditate on beforehand to generate that motivation? Death and impermanence, and the possibility of being reborn in the lower realms. Having generated the motivation by meditating on those two, then in how to actually fulfill that purpose and get an upper rebirth, they take refuge in the 3 jewels and observe the law of karma and its effects. Okay. The intermediate level being, their motivation is they want to get out of samsara and attain liberation. So what they meditate on in order to generate that motivation is the first 2 noble truths, true dukkha and the true origin of dukkha. And by that they generate that motivation, the determination to be free. And then to achieve the purpose of that motivation, to attain liberation, then they meditate on the last 2 noble truths, true cessations and true paths. Okay, as well as what the afflictions are and how they arise and all sorts of other material like that. Then for the advanced level or the great level practitioner, their goal is to attain full awakening for the benefit of all beings. And to generate that motivation, then they generate bodhicitta through first practicing equanimity and then practicing one of the 2 ways to generate bodhicitta. So either the 7-point cause and effect instruction, or equalizing and exchanging self for others. And then having generated the bodhicitta, the way they attain that goal is by practicing the 6 paramitas, 6 perfections or far-reaching practices, or by entering the tantric vehicle. Okay? So what we want to do is, have the aspiration of a great level being, at least fabricated bodhicitta, or at least some admiration for bodhicitta, but in actual fact, to generate, spontaneous bodhicitta, it's going to take a lot of mental transformation. So we have to start off at the beginning of the path. So that's why we first meditated on relying on a spiritual teacher, on the 3 meditations for precious human life, and now we're going to begin the meditations on the path in common with the initial level practitioner. Okay? So don't poo-poo these initial level motivations. Yeah? They're actually not so easy to attain realization of. Yeah? I mean, do you have a realization of precious human life? All day do you walk around feeling, my life is so incredibly meaningful and important, and I'm so astounded I have this opportunity? Is that what you think all day? No. Well, then you don't have a realization of that meditation. Okay? So, let's start with where we're at, and especially, as we're moving in now, the first meditation that we're going to be focusing on is the one on death and impermanence. And they say this meditation is helpful at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the path. Okay? So it's not just the beginning of the path. Okay. So that first outline, training the mind on the stages of the path shared with initial beings. Okay. So that's divided into 3. What to do in the actual meditation session, what to do in between sessions. Okay. And then what to do in the actual meditation session is divided into 3, the preliminaries, the actual meditation, and the conclusion. Okay, and the preliminaries are as before, doing the visualization of the Buddha, all the recitations, the saying the mantra and so forth, okay? And then it says to reflect, yeah? The fact that I and all other sentient beings have been born in samsara and are endlessly subjected to intense dukkha is due to our having failed to contemplate death and impermanence, to take refuge from the depths of our hearts in the 3 jewels. Refuge is generated due to, here it has fear of suffering in the lower realms. I guess you could say that. Fear or dread or concern of suffering in the lower realms. To have faith or trust based on conviction in karma and its effects. To correctly reject destructive actions and do constructive ones. Guru Deity, please inspire me and all sentient beings so the awareness of death and impermanence may arise in us, so we may take refuge from the depths of our hearts and the three jewels out of fear of suffering of the lower realms, and having generated faith based on conviction in karma and its effects, so that we may correctly reject negativities and practice virtue. Okay, you can tell that the Tibetan of this was one sentence that was about this long. Okay? So in response to your requesting the Guru Deity, 5 colored light and nectars stream from all parts of his body into you. When it says Guru Deity, it means the Buddha, seeing your spiritual mentor in the form of the Buddha. So this streams through the crown of your head into you. It absorbs into your body and mind, and also those of all sentient beings, purifying all negativities and obscurations accumulated since beginningless time, and especially purifying all illnesses, spirit interferences, negativities, and obscurations that interfere with attaining a superior realization of the stages of the path shared with lesser beings. Okay, so you really meditate on that and visualize that and have some feeling for that. You know, that it's like the Buddha is on your side, you know, trying to help you to purify, trying to inspire your mind with the understanding of these meditations. Your body becomes translucent, the nature of light. All your good qualities, lifespan, merit, and so forth expand and increase. And think in particular that a superior realization of the stages of the path shared with lesser beings has arisen in your mind stream and in the mind stream of all the other sentient beings that you visualized around you. Okay? Are you visualizing that as I'm reading it? Okay, then the actual meditation. So here there's 4. Contemplating death and impermanence, contemplating the dukkha of the lower realms, or the suffering of the lower realms, training in refuge in the 3 jewels, and cultivating faith in the form of conviction in karma and its effects. And so the text continues, while meditating with the Guru Buddha on your head, reflect in the following manner. Okay, so here's the meditation on death in a nutshell. We'll expand it, but here's the nutshell. This life with freedom and fortune so difficult to attain, and once attained so meaningful, will soon be destroyed. Death is certain to occur. Furthermore, no inner or outer circumstances can prevent it. I cannot add to my lifespan, which in fact shortens unceasingly. I am sure to die without having had the time to practice the teachings while alive. Does that scare you? That scares me. Not only do I have to die, the time of my death is uncertain. Because the lifespan of sentient beings of Jambudvipa, our world, our continent, is uncertain, the causes of death are numerous, and causes of death are numerous, and those of life few, and our bodies are as fragile as water bubbles. The time of our death is uncertain. At the time of death, everything but the teaching is useless. No matter how great the affection that my circle of loved ones has for me, I cannot take a single one of them with me. No matter how large a collection of lovely belongings I have, I cannot bring the tiniest portion of them with me. I must even be separated from the very flesh and bones I was born with. Therefore, what purpose does attachment to the good things of this life serve? The Lord of Death is sure to come, but it is unsure when that will occur. Since I run the risk of dying this very day, truly I must do something to prepare for death. By way of preparation, may I practice the teaching purely, free of attachment to any of this life's excellence. Guru Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Can you get a sense that if you really had a realization of what this is talking about, how you might actually feel inside when you say, Guru Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so? You know, if you really understood death and impermanence, yeah, what would that feel like to really have that understanding? And if you did, would you just say, Guru Deity, Guru Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so? 15 more minutes to this session. Would you do that? No. Yeah. What would it feel like to actually have that awareness? So from the depth of your heart, you know, you're just like, I really want to gain this realization. I can see how important it is, how meaningful it is, you know, and my mind's so full of clutter. Yeah, so Buddha, please help me. And so here too, again in response, you know, the visualization is as before. You know, I won't read it, but the 5-colored light and nectar coming, purifying the negativities and the obstacles to understanding, in this case, death and impermanence. Yeah, purifying, you know, illnesses, spirit interferences, our body becoming translucent, and you know, then gaining the realization of this meditation. Okay. So, in the meditation of impermanence and death, first we contemplate the 6 disadvantages of not remembering death, and then the 6 advantages of remembering death. But I'm thinking maybe I should pause here and see if there's some questions before our time is over. Yeah.
I did have 2. First is, I'm always curious when I read these that when the causes for refuge, they have the one about the fear of long rebirth and the confidence in the future. So we always have that third one about seeing other sentient beings as being in the same situation as us and developing compassion. How come it's not in the gradual path? It's like the bodhicitta motivation, something extra that I always
right, because there's just taking regular refuge and then taking Mahayana refuge. So here it's in the initial level being. So the initial level of being has not necessarily generated bodhicitta. So their taking of refuge is going to be motivated, you know, the initial motivation. But what we do is we often sneak the bodhicitta, the Mahayana motivation, in there and say, oh, well, I'm taking refuge also because I have an awareness of other living beings being in the same predicament I'm in.
And then the second question was, the 8 worldly concerns, I've always found them to be really powerful motivations, but yet once again, in our long-term outlines, they're there, but in this one they're not. They would be in this initial scope.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying that the meditation on the 8 worldly concerns is always very powerful, but you're not seeing it in like this verse that we just read, asking for the yeah. There was something a little bit earlier on about not wasting our time in meaningless activities. So that's referring to the 8 worldly concerns. But when we expand this, yeah, it'll be in there because it comes under the disadvantages of not remembering death. And one of them is that our life is just given over to the 8 worldly concerns. So even though it's not specifically said in the verse that we just read, it's definitely in the meditation. Yeah. They're not going to let us get away with that. Yeah. I'm always rather surprised. Sometimes I meet people who've been practicing for a while. They've never heard of the 8 worldly concerns. And my teacher, you know, Lama Zopa is like, again and again and again and again, you know, the evil thought of the 8 worldly concerns, being care, you know, having attachment for only the happiness of this life. Again and again. I'm in a whole meditation course for a month on this. And so I'm always rather shocked when I meet people who have never heard of the 8 worldly concerns in their practice. And I must say that I'm really grateful to Rinpoche for teaching that, because, you know, these 8 worldly concerns are the things that prevent us from practicing the Dharma. Because what's the demarcation line between Dharma practice and worldly practice? It's whether our mind is attached to only the happiness of this life. In other words, the 8 worldly concerns. If our mind is attached to that, if we're acting motivated by the 8 worldly concerns, it's not Dharma practice. No matter how much we look externally like we're practicing the Dharma, it's not Dharma practice. Yeah. Whereas if our mind is free of the 8 worldly concerns, then whatever we're doing is actual Dharma practice. Mm-hmm.
So much of acknowledging the preciousness of human life relies on kind of an understanding of reincarnation, rebirth. Mm-hmm. Something I struggle with. Mm-hmm. Intellectually it makes sense, but you know, hard. And when I hear those numbers, you know that the story of the turtle, it just doesn't register. Yeah, it's a rare event, but you know, it doesn't feel like it's contextualized.
Yeah.
So how can, I don't know, deepen my understanding of rebirth?
Okay, so how to deepen your understanding of rebirth, because you see that understanding, like the example of the turtle or the rarity of the precious human life, you know, you can get much more of an experience of that if you have an understanding of rebirth. I gave a talk on rebirth not last week, but the week before. Okay? So listen to that. And there's a chapter in Open Heart, Clear Mind about rebirth. And also on tuptenshujun.org, there's some talks and so on about rebirth. Having said that, I think one of the greatest hindrances we have to understanding rebirth is the strength of our present self-grasping. That when we say I right now, it feels so solid and so real, and it's me of this body. And we can't imagine ever being anything else, even a baby. Yeah? Can you imagine having been a baby? Do you really think that you were ever a baby? Yeah, I mean, we know that because we see our baby pictures. But you think about a baby's state of mind, the lack of, you know, conceptual thought, the lack of knowledge of the world, the inability to express oneself, the inability to understand what's going on around you. Can we even think that we were once like that as a baby? Yeah, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? And yet we know for sure we were once like that. So if it's hard to imagine being a baby, which we know we've been, then it's even going to be harder to imagine being in another body, also with a different state of mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you ask people that help me to liberate myself, and because I have so much stuff in there, the feeling, there's a fear or something very uncomfortable that it's like letting go of what I know, who I am. And that's the self-grasping, right?
Yeah.
Feeling that uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying that when you request the Buddha for inspiration to, overcome different hindrances and to gain different realizations, one part of your mind is really uncomfortable.
It's in my gut.
Yeah. Yeah, your gut is uncomfortable because you're aware that it means giving up an ego identity that you've spent a long time cultivating and manicuring and protecting. Yeah? So the way to get around this is to understand, but that ego identity makes me miserable. Yeah? So instead of feeling nervous or uncomfortable about giving it up, I need to say, yes, I want to get rid of this because I want to be happy. And I deserve to be happy.
But that yes is not strong. Even if in the mind, like, yes, I'm miserable, certainly that yes, and I want to get out of there. So how to nourish that?
How to nourish that, yes. Repetition. Yeah, again and again thinking about this.
And the doubt, because I hear my mind, like you were talking and the mind says, no, I don't have the example, but it's doubt.
Yeah, yeah. So you just recognize, okay, there's doubt there, but I don't have to buy into the doubt. Also, what is very important along this line, which helps, is doing a lot of purification and collection of merit practices. Because when we're stuck in our meditation, sometimes like you do this meditation and there's not so much feeling, then it can be good to really, focus more on purification, do more Vajrasattva, do more prostrations. Yeah, create merit through mandala offerings or taking refuge or offering water bowls or, being charitable. Yeah, offering service at the Abbey with a good motivation. Because if we really purify and create merit, then it helps a lot to get rid of this kind of the mental weakness or the resistance that we feel. Mm-hmm.
When I do online in meditation, I generate bodhicitta.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you're asking, yeah, when you do Tonglen, the taking and giving meditation, are you generating bodhicitta? You're generating very strong love and very strong compassion, which are the causes of bodhicitta. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Being in this place where, I want to have this realization of precious human rebirth, but it's still very much intellectual. But just being in that place knowing that it's my present level of obscuration requires fortitude. You know, it requires me to just, you know, continue to
Yeah.
go, but it's, as you know, not easy. And it's sometimes very frustrating.
Yeah.
To be sort of seeing that you can't just make it happen.
Yeah.
Wish it, but, you know.
Okay, so even with the meditation, The Precious Human Life, you can look at it and you can see, wow, it would be incredible to really have a realization of that, but I don't really have one, and I wish I could will myself to have one. You know, if I could squeeze myself or push myself or beat myself up so I see how precious my life is. You know, those techniques are not found in the Lam Rim as how to generate realizations. Okay?
Yeah, also having the patience to wait for the causes and conditions to come together.
Yeah, okay, so having the patience, you know, because, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to earn $1 million, you would be very patient. You would go to school and you would take all these tests and you would go to graduate school and you would start at the bottom of the ladder and you would work overtime, you know, for years and years and years, and you would save your money and give up your pleasure, and you would do all sorts of things if you really strongly wanted to have $1 million. Yet for Dharma, we don't want to give up anything or have the slightest inconvenience. We want push button Dharma. I want that realization. It should come to me. Right?
That's really what I'm trying to express. No, I'm not expecting a push button.
But it's frustrating to sit there and say, but I want that realization and I can't get it. Yeah? And to realize that, you know, it's not like wanting something on the outside. I want a hot fudge sundae, I'm going to go get it. This is not something that you go and get like that. Something you have to create the causes for. And it takes a lot of patience and fortitude. And there's no other way to do it. And our baby mind wants another way to do it.
There's a lot of stories that we hear that people like in their life they try so hard and try, and the day they gave up.
Yeah.
There's a tightness that it doesn't allow come.
Exactly. When we're tight like that and pushing ourselves, there's no space in the mind.
But we think we're doing good.
Yeah, we think we're doing good.
I'm working hard, and I do hard and do my best.
Yes.
But there's a tightness that we're
Push, 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 push. I'm a high achiever. I've got to high achieve this one too.
And her, she's not a high achiever. She fights me.
Yeah. So, okay. Are there any questions here?
Yeah, there are a whole bunch.
Okay.
But why is there a growing population when rebirth for human life is different?
Why is a growing population human birth when human life, blah, blah. Look in my book. Okay, it's answered in Open Heart, Clear Mind and in Buddhism for Beginners. And I'm not going to tell you the answer because I want you to get used to looking up things. And you also might learn something interesting in the book too.
The other two are kind of related. One is, if we have complete faith in the emptiness of inherent existence, does that help us in any way to avoid rebirth in samsara? Or do we have to have a direct realization of emptiness?
Okay, well, okay, so does having faith in emptiness help in avoiding a rebirth in samsara? Do we have to have a direct realization to get out of samsara? Having faith in emptiness will help us, hopefully, if we've also created merit, to have a good rebirth, but that alone will not get us out of samsara. Only a direct realization cultivated over a long period of time will get us out of samsara.
Does the knowledge of the lack of an inherent self help in the detachment from worldly concerns? How do we meditate on that?
Okay, does the lack of does the knowledge of a lack of inherently existent self help in detaching from worldly concerns? Yes, definitely. Yeah, because that wisdom is what cuts off the root of samsara, the ignorance. Okay? How do we do that? Stay tuned. Keep attending, keep listening to this, and when we get to that, we will get to it. Okay? Basically, in short, meditating that the object that you're attached to has no inherent existence, and that your attachment has no inherent existence, and that you as the person who is attached also has no inherent existence. But how to do that is going to come later in the Lamrim. Was that it? Oh, they're not asking very many questions this week. Okay, you had one.
I'm not sure what you mean when you talk about a realization and a direct realization.
Oh, okay. So a realization is a very deep understanding. There's different kinds of realizations, and some, her question was, what's a realization and what's a direct perception? So a direct perception, well, put it this way, some of the meditations we're trying to understand a certain object. Some of the meditations we're trying to transform our mind into the nature of that experience. So when we're meditating on impermanence or emptiness, we're trying to understand them. So there we want direct perceptions that actually clearly see them, and that would be a certain level of realization. But when we're meditating on love and compassion, it's not that love and compassion are out there and we're understanding them, that we're generating them inside ourselves. We're transforming our mind. So it's a different kind of realization. We're not going to have a direct perception at that point. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I feel like a central piece of this meditation is about discomfort, about pushing the button, pulling the rug out from under.
Yes.
And there's this mistake I can make where I can look at it and say, okay, how can I control it? How can I put the rug back under me?
Mm-hmm.
How can I get a good rebirth? Instead of going,
Right, okay. So you're saying that you can sense that these meditations all are functioning to pull the rug out from underneath us. Definitely, yes. Yeah, and that we are trying to put the rug back there. Yeah, so that it's all nice and comfortable. Okay, and it's true. I mean, the Dharma does pull the rug out from underneath us. It makes us very uncomfortable. Well, it makes our ego uncomfortable, put it this way. It makes our self-grasping, our self-centered mind very uncomfortable, because the truth of the Dharma is there, and of course self-grasping and self-centeredness don't want to acknowledge it. Yeah, we want the Dharma, but we don't want to change. We want to keep everything just as it was before. Which is, that shows that we don't understand that the situation we're in is a situation of dukkha, and that we really should want to change our situation. Yeah, but we feel comfortable. We're like a pig in the pigsty, rolling around in the slop. We feel comfortable. Yeah? The pig is just rolling around in all this foulness. And it's just, oh, this is so comfortable. This is everything, this was how I raised everything, all the slop I could possibly want, and rolling around in it. Oh, this is wonderful. Yeah, without realizing that there's any alternative. Yeah, and then when faced with the possibility of getting the alternative, the pig says, but then I won't have the slop to roll around in anymore. And freedom from living in this pigsty might make me miserable. Yeah, the Buddha's saying that freedom from the pigsty is happiness, but I don't get that. I just want to make my pigsty more plentiful with more rubbish and more fermented food and more maggots, because then I'll have the best pigsty. And that's what we're like. Yeah? Anything that threatens to take our pigsty away from us, and we go, ah, give it back to me. I want happiness. Not realizing that the Buddha's trying to show us the way to actual happiness. Yeah? And then when we get some idea, well, maybe the Buddha's showing me the way to happiness, then, well, I want it quickly. Yeah, I don't want to take a long time to get all these realizations. I'm a busy person. Yeah, I have places to go and things to do, and I'm impatient. I don't like waiting around. I don't like doing this meditation over and over and over and over and over again. You know, it's like watching the same video again and again. Of course, if it's my poor me video, I will watch that one again and again and again and again, ad nauseum. But the video of the precious human life, I want the realization already. Yeah? Yeah? This is what they call ignorance. Yeah? So.
How does one get beyond just an intellectual understanding? And how do you make your life more meaningful when you're busy at work?
How do you get beyond an intellectual understanding? Repetition of the meditation, during purification, during collection of merit. How do you gain these understandings when you're busy at work? Think about your precious human life and what is valuable in it. And think about how to transform neutral activities into virtuous ones. Think about how to abandon non-virtue and how to practice virtue. Think about, are all the things that you think you have to do at work really things you have to do? Are all the things you're telling yourself in life that I have to do these really things you have to do, or are you choosing to do them? And if you're choosing to do them, you know, why are you choosing to do those things instead of the Dharma practice? Or if you need to do both, how can you make a balance between, you know, providing for yourself in a worldly way and also practicing the Dharma? You know, try as best as you can to do some Dharma practice in the morning and the evening. You know, wake up, generate your motivation, take refuge, do a little bit of meditation, or read some Dharma books so you're putting that imprint on your mind stream. Yeah, try and live, you know, in an ethical way, abandoning non-virtue, practicing the 10 virtues. At the end of the day, review what you've done and you know, learn from your mistakes, set your determination for the next day to, you know, continue practicing and to, you know, learn to restrain your mind from negativities. You know, go to retreats whenever you can. Generate a good motivation before you go to work. Try and be kind to the people that you work with. Yeah? But, yeah. Yeah, and also work on generosity. Yeah. So, yeah, you can still make your life very meaningful practicing at work.
You, for example, spoke about the causes and then practicing generosity as part of it. Tonight it was the first time for me that I really got a good feeling of the 3 kinds of generosity. It can be, for example, to a virtuous object, like the spiritual teacher or the Dharma centers or Dharma groups or whatever. And since I'm a monastic, so I have no income anymore. So I'm used to give and I love to give. And now it's turning more and more that I realize now it's more and more my practice, or it's giving through my offering service and so on. And that's turning into the direction of receiving a precious human life. More and more I'm able to give more and more in the form of Dharma practice than the highest form of giving.
Right, right. Yeah, so monastics and lay people practice generosity in different ways. Lay people have more material wealth, so they give more material wealth. Monastics don't have so much material wealth, so they give their service and they give their Dharma practice.
And that's supporting the precious human life.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's the practice of generosity, yeah, for sure.
I think growing up in Singapore, often the purpose of your life is to care for your family or to serve society, that's a good life. So if you're doing sometimes too much Dharma practice is seen as extreme or taking you away from these goals.
Okay. Okay, so growing up in Singapore or America, it's seen that your goals are to take care of your family and to serve society. And if you get too into Dharma practice, you're seen as extreme. Okay. Yes, serving your family, serving society are very good, but usually the underlying motivation is, yeah, the happiness of this life, isn't it? Yeah, an obligation. Yeah, so if you can do those things really with a bodhicitta motivation, it's completely wonderful and it becomes very, very virtuous. Yeah, most of the time people do those things with a sense of obligation. Yeah, and with attachment to the happiness of this life, because if I do that, then people look at me well, I'm accepted in society, I get the things that I want, etc., etc. Okay? And so serving society is, in Singapore, is a polite way of saying making money. Isn't it? Yeah? Is the goal really to serve society, or is the goal to make money? Or to make money by serving society?
To have a very good reputation.
Yeah, and to have a very good reputation and make a lot of money by serving society. I mean, if you just serve society, you can do that as a Dharma practitioner. So then why are people saying you're too extreme practicing the Dharma? If serving society, you know, is very much what we're about as Dharma practitioners. It's because the underlying, the code meaning for serving society, yeah, money and reputation. Okay.
But it might also be a misunderstanding, not knowing what Buddhist practitioners doing actually.
Yeah, a lot of people say this because they don't understand what Buddhist practitioners are doing. Yeah. But then many people think that, you know, if you don't care so much for the happiness of this life, many people think you're just crazy. You're out of your mind. You're denying life. You're denying pleasure. You're suppressing your sexuality. You're, you know, out of it. Yeah. And that's what they think. That's okay. They can think that. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's true. We know it's not. Yeah. But that's what ordinary people think. Yeah. Like the man, you know, in the cloth shop. You know, what he told me. Or what my parents said, you know, you're wasting your life. You have a good education. You could go out and do this and this and this and this. Yeah, why are you wasting all of that? Yeah, because they don't have the same way of looking at life that Dharma practitioners do. Yeah, which is why it's important to hang around other Dharma practitioners, because they understand us, you know. And if we're around people with other values for a long time, very easily our minds start shifting, you know, and then we start doubting our own Dharma practice. Oh yeah, I really am extreme. Yeah, I should practice the middle way. Yeah. The middle way means doing what my friends and relatives want me to do. Actually, that's an extreme. Yeah? Okay.